Hello. While the pandemic is slowly receding and seems to give us space for a more liberated life again, our artists have been able to create new works, and we had the chance to continue with our program and exhibit the results. It did not seem as necessary as in some periods in between to do videos of the shows, because people were allowed to visit galleries, and they did so after the long breaks of 2020 and early 21. And I'm very happy about that. Still, I wanted to share to the ones who cannot come to Cologne some images and thoughts on Koen van den Broek's current show, Tango in Paris. It is, by the way, since 2006, our 8th solo exhibition with this Belgian painter. As in his previous exhibitions, van den Broek's current paintings are based on photographs taken by the artist himself. That he does not use images taken by third persons and that he does not include contents of third persons in his work is important to him. By using his own images, van den Broek composes, on a formal level, the pictures the way he wants them to be. In the studio, from a large number of photographs, those images are selected that seem to him most suitable for a painting. Thus, the process of image creation is extremely extended. Koen hardly changes the composition of his photographs. He's mainly somewhat abstracting them and then transferring them into the paintings. That means that the artworks are not created alone and only in the studio, but already on the road, on his travels and in his head. In terms of content, one can say that he marks on the world map the places where he has been and creates a visual diary. As the exhibition title suggests, some of the paintings from Tango in Paris are based on photographs taken in Paris. The trip there in 2021 was Koen van den Broek's first after the months of lockdown. Here we are standing in front of the work Hot. This painting is dominated by the color blue, and it is read from the upper edge to the lower edge, starting with a very bright blue and going down, getting darker and darker and ending in a very dark blue here in the lower edge. On the left-hand side of the painting, we see a yellowish, muddy field that is structured with black stripes. And just right next to it, we see a vertical line that is turning to the right and ending in a rectangular field. The two upper corners, left and right, are painted mainly in a bright blue and again structured. And this structure is somewhat indecipherable. It is indecipherable as long as we do not know that this is a painting of a reflection in a puddle in Paris. Once we know that, we see that this is the reflection of a facade of a hotel, and we see the three letters T, O, and H, and we see also or understand that this is a lamppost, which is again mirrored by the puddle. And we see some wavy lines that come from the obvious movement of the water in the puddle. Another painting of this series of reflections in Parisian puddles is Water 3. Here we see two black stripes. One is crossing the entire canvas almost vertically, and the other is covering only 1/4 seen from above. And on the right side, we see again a black stripe. The whole painting is dominated by bright blue in the upper half, and the lower half is dominated by this whitish, grayish, wildly painted structures. As I mentioned before, again, this is a reflection in a puddle. And the two central stripes are probably, because we do not really know, a segment of a lamppost and a parking post. And the right black zone is, again, a building. And obviously, the upper half in blue is a reflection of the Parisian sky, while the lower half reflects wildly moved clouds. Is that so? Yes, it is, as is proven by the photograph that van den Broek has used as the base for this painting. Astonishingly, it is very close to the painting. One last painting of this group of works that I want to introduce you to is Vertigo. Here we see, besides some clouds and the blue sky, mainly the surface of the puddle with garbage floating in it, a little piece of architecture in the upper right corner, and a lamppost that is cutting through the entire canvas diagonally, a wavy lamppost again, so we see again the movement of the water. With this lamppost, van den Broek is not only alluding to earlier paintings of his, like as, for instance, Green Plain from 2016, but he is also, together with the title of the painting, somewhat drawing us down in a hole and thus alluding to Alfred Hitchcock's unanimous and very famous movie Vertigo. All these paintings have been done on the basis of photographs shot in Paris. And Paris is not only a place of longing, but also the place where the first commercially viable photographic process was invented. It was substantially developed by Louis Daguerre. Technically speaking, he used a camera obscura and exposed an image carrier for his photographs, which he then called daguerreotopie. That captured the image projected onto the back of the pinhole camera, immortalizing it. And Koen van den Broek's paintings, which he created after photographing images reflected in puddles in Paris, can be seen as related to the daguerreotopie in two respects. For one thing, images that can be seen on the back wall of a camera obscura are always upside down. And this is what the reflected images on the surface of the water of Van den Broek's painted puddles are too, as if they were images from such a pinhole camera. On the other hand, the images in a camera obscura are snapshots of a very specific moment, like, again, the images we see reflected in puddles. The very precise location, angle to the puddle, and moment in time provides us with a very specific image. With each temporal and spatial shift, it changes. Analog photography, in the debate on its theory, was considered to be a trace of reality, a so-called index sign. And Van den Broek, with his paintings, alludes to this idea by showing us, for instance, objects that have straight edges, such as a lamppost, with wavy lines, thus integrating the movement of the water surface into the image from reality. Now I want to come back to the cinematic aspect of the works that I mentioned in relation to the painting Vertigo. It can be also seen in Pantin No. 1. This work is painted after a photograph of an entrance to the Bar l'Industrie in the Parisian Quartier Pantin. At the time of the photograph, the bar was closed by a shutter. A traffic light is reflected in the red metal, and over it we see an unused cable that hangs from above as if it were a gallows rope. But even though we see a kind of threat in the painting, it is indeed just an intense representation of an everyday situation of a closed store that looks like a sign of despair. Not only this somewhat societal reference to the bad state the Quartier Pantin finds itself in can be seen as cinematic, because in general there is the tradition of the film noir that is documenting situations in our society in a darkish and critical way. But in this particular case, there is even the movie Ciao Pantin, directed in 1983 by Claude Berry, that could have served with one particular scene as a direct source of images for this painting. However, Van den Broek has seen the movie only after having painted the work, and this is a proof for the thesis that Koen van den Broek, besides using his own photographic images, is very closely related to cinematographic images that form his eye. Before I come to the end of this short tour, I would like to briefly share a few words about the two paintings on and off. These two paintings show the same rotten truck in the desert at a moment just before sunset. Van den Broek did not move for the two images, rather they were taken from exactly the same spot, shortly one after the other. The difference between the two photographic originals, however, is that one photo was taken without flash, and this one with it. The flash which we do not have built into us and cannot imitate with our human eye or human biological conditions, but only in the technical aids that we may carry with us, leads to a completely different image, to completely different things that come to the fore for our eye. The dependence of our seeing, the technical conditionality of our images, Van den Broek shows us in this way. And while the paintings after the reflections in Paris are seemingly abstract compositions, the paintings after the shots of the trucks are seemingly more figurative, more narrative. It remains to be noted, however, that the degree of depiction of reality is the same in both groups. So, this is it for the moment. Stay healthy, stay tuned, and come by if possible. Art needs to be seen and experienced in our analog world, the real thing. So I'm looking forward to meeting you in the future. Bye-bye.